Hello! This isn't just for restaurants, waiters and waitresses. It's for teachers too. Welcome. I felt like I just stopped being Darth Vader there for a second. That is probably the way you're going to see me the first day of school. That's pretty exciting. I think I got one of the more fashionable ones. This is what you call a face shield. I also have masks that are clear so you can see my mouth when I talk. It's going to be very interesting. Well, here is my final welcome back video. And I just wanted to prep you to bring a personal item for the second day of school. If you're in Mr. Lee's class, also known as 8B, pay close attention because you know nothing about this. Because I only wrote about this in my welcome letter from my homeroom. Now, I bet you've done something like this before. It's like, okay, start of school. We have to bring in something that represents us, and then we share ourselves. Yep. It's another one of those moments, isn't it, of like, this, pff, I've done that before. That's a comfort for some of you, and then also just like, come on, let's do something else. Well, we're going to bring personal items in, and I'm going to bring a little bit of a twist to it. So we're in 8th grade after all. I'm expecting you to be able to make a couple leaps in your conversation ability and your thinking ability. And if you're not ready for it, don't you worry, because I'll help you get there. These represent my personal item. I bring something new every year. I do this every year with a new class. And usually what happens is we share our personal item and just say the story behind it and why we like it. But it's going to be a little different this year. I want you to tell me a story about who else shared this experience with you. That's kind of confusing. This is why I'm making a video and sharing it with you. So, a little bit of a homework check. If you're coming to school, put a personal item in your backpack. It would be great if you could bring it for the first day, but we're not going to use it on the first day. We're going to be using it for the second day. And I'm going to tell you one other person in my life who shared this experience with me. So whether you bring basketball shoes, a jump rope, maybe a flag. One person did bring in their pet rat before. That sounds like it was ugly. It was a very cute thing. It was named Petunia. These are 2 rocks that I collected when I was on my road trip. This first one was at a campsite. The person who shared this experience with me is my road trip friend. His name is Preston. He is an actor in New York City. And we had a campsite completely to ourselves, so we got a little rambunctious. And I don't know if you've heard of something called parkour, but we just kind of ran around, and it wasn't very intense, but we just stepped on the bench of a picnic table and did a little spin, and we ran around trees, and we just had a little fun together for probably just about 3 or 4 minutes. Felt like it was longer, but it was probably pretty short. And then, when we were done, I went on a little walk, and I found this nice smooth stone. And I had such a nice walk, and I was seeing the sunset down. It was gorgeous. And then this, it looks like slate to me. I'm not sure that it is. This was when, again, same person, sharing an experience with Preston, my friend. He and I climbed the highest peak in Connecticut. And we went up one way, got to the highest point, and then getting down, it literally felt like we had to be Spider-Man, like feet and fingers sticking. And like, it was so steep. It was almost scary. It was less scary and more painful. Just these huge rocks, it didn't seem like there was a natural path to take. So I don't know if you've ever had that feeling where your toes are like wedging in to the ends of your shoes, and then you're like, oh my goodness, my toes might fall off. Well, that's that. So this was like a really joyful experience, and then this one kind of was a painful one, but also it was a big accomplishment because we went to the highest peak in Connecticut. So please consider what's personal item you want to bring. And if, as you could tell, I kind of did the 6th and 7th grade version there. I told the story, but I also told about my friend who had experienced it with me. And so there were a lot of signs when quarantine went up about we're all in this together. And I want to learn about some of the people connections in your life. There's some things we just like to do on our own. Maybe it sends us in our happy place, maybe headphones, or maybe even drawing. We just kind of like to go to our room and we just do that. However, there's probably moments where you share something with another person too, and expect me or expect some of your peers to ask you some questions. And I can promise you a couple things. I can promise you that we'll be curious and sincerely interested, and we'll also be covered. I'm going to have the mask on, and they're going to have the mask on too. The final thing is, well, there's, again, still a lot to think about. I'm going to end with 2 things. If you are a remote learner, if you're learning from home, there's not going to be a live session for you next week. I am learning as much as I can, but I do not currently have the resources to basically get a live stream for you. I think that's going to be pretty soon, though. I will give you the just about the exact same experience on Google Classroom that you would in this class. And I want you to consider a personal item too. But to make things clear, there's not going to be any live Google Meet time on Google Classroom. There will be some assignments on there for you, or some more activities. And then finally, I know everything we're going to learn for every day, every month, and every trimester that we're together this year. I'm looking forward. I feel very confident that I know that. But I'm going to try to make things a little different this year. I usually come up with like a theme for the month because we read a book a month and it's easy to think of a theme. But I think I want to go week to week with you guys as well. We'll still read a book over the course of 3 or 4 weeks, but I want to just take it 1 week at a time and be like, guys, if I can teach you one thing, it's going to be this focus this week. So, next week's theme, the first week of school, is human. This is a question that I ask all year long, but what does it mean to be human? What does that mean? What does it mean to be you? You'll get a very unique answer if you think about your own personal life. And yet, again, we're looking for those people connections. I think we've got just as many similarities as we do differences. By the end of next week, we are going to have our first discussion where everyone's voice is going to be heard, whether you ask a question or you give an opinion. We're going to talk about what it means to be human. What does it mean to be human? I think today, I'm going to give you lots of hints until you give me your thoughts on Friday. I think what it means to be human is to make. We're not the only things that make things. Beavers are making those awesome stick huts. Do we make our language? I think we do. I know dolphins have a way to speak to each other. But we make gadgets, and we make clothes. We make stories. Animals don't do that so much. Robots and computers have been designed to make stories, and it doesn't always turn out very well. We'll have some fun. I've got a few examples of that for you. But anyways, I'd like you to think about that. If you'd like to be prepared for school next week, I want you to be prepared to think of answers. What does it mean to be us? What does it mean to be humans? We could think about sin nature. We can be bad, but also we can be quite good. We can get very tired. We can be very energized. We can be quite cold to one another, and yet we can be quite compassionate too. There's not one answer to this question. It's just a year to explore some of the answers. Hopefully we'll do a little bit more than just scratch the surface. I'll end with a great quote. Perhaps you've heard of a book series called Lord of the Rings. There's a very friendly wizard who likes hobbits. Hobbits are these small creatures who kind of look like humans. They're just rather small. And this friendly wizard named Gandalf says, "Hobbits, you can spend 1 month and know everything there is to know about them. And yet after a lifetime, they can still surprise you." I think that's a hint about what it means to be human. We could define it all in a textbook, and yet after our entire life, we'd still be surprised. And I look forward to doing something I've done many years, but I look forward to doing something with you, the personal item, next week, and finding out the surprise, because I know the surprise will be you. All right, have a good weekend. I'll see you for the first day of school on Monday. Goodbye.